our first guest today, I'd like to introduce you to James Swallow.
I was very engrossed by that instructional film there. Clearly, I think that had a very important message, which is if you find an alien creature in your shed, kill it. So, what can I say about that? Let me tell you about who I am and why I'm here. My name is James Swallow. I am a writer of stuff. I used to be a journalist, and I wrote a lot about science fiction, TV shows, books, comics, video games, that kind of thing. I always had a hankering to be a real writer. And from the back of that, I got into writing for television. I'm the only British writer who works on any Star Trek television series, watching the two episodes of Star Trek television. And from there, I've gone to write novels, short stories, radio drama, video games, basically anything with a name. I'm not proud. I've written my own fiction. I've also written books and stories in local universes: Stargate, History Works, Stargate Atlantis, Star Trek, Doctor Who, Black Seven, and 1000. Well, I like to think of myself as basically kind of a jobbing working writer. I go with the working, but I go with the focus as well. And one of the reasons I've got such a wide portfolio of stuff is I'm trying to get people to do just one thing or another. One of the things that's really cool about being a time writer is I get to play with all the toys that I had when I was a kid. You know, I grew up watching shows like Doctor Who, like Star Trek. You know, here I am 20 years later, you know, to actually play with those characters is kind of crazy wild thing. So, I guess I'm just going to start by throwing out the questions. See where we go from next. Anyone?
Well, you mentioned Voyager, Jim. How did your experience with Memorial?
There's two actually. One.
Memorial is the plinth that stops working, isn't it?
What's the other one? One was the episode, that's the one where everybody's asleep, and 7 of the night is the pilot ship.
This week.
Was it?
Yeah, it was last week. 2 days ago.
Oh, well, no, it's locked in. I'll tell you how I got my gig on Voyager. I used to work for, I still do actually work for Star Trek Monthly magazine, I don't know if you read that. And I used to be a features writer. And the thing about doing that kind of magazine is a lot of people who write that magazine for those magazines are fans. And they love to do the interviews with the actors and the stars. So everybody was saying, who wants to do the Cape Crew interview? Oh, me. Who wants to do too much? Me. Who wants to interview the writers? Anyone? Anyone? Yeah. And it was then me at the back of the room thinking, well, you know, I'd like to kind of be a TV writer or something. I'll do it. So I got on into the TV writers. And I was the only guy who kept interviewing the writers and the producers and the directors and the behind the scenes. And what I would do is, while I was doing the interview, I would say, yes, this is very interesting. And then halfway through the interview, I'd say, what did you do to get a proper Act 5? Or, you know, how did you do with, the characters? And they were like, why are you asking these kind of questions? Are you slipping these in your... because you want to know them. And so I got to the point where they were like, you know, do you really want to do this for a career? I know. So, and they basically kind of held the door open to Star Trek and kind of looked the other way. Well, I snuck in. And they said, you know, come along and pitch. Pitching is probably one of the worst things to do if you're a writer, which is where you come in with like 4 or 5 story ideas. And you have to, you've got maybe, you know, anything from 10 minutes to half an hour to sell. Right, it's a brilliant idea. Where the Voyager is attacked by a giant human space ghost. And this is going to happen. And you have to make it really good. And of course, I'm a writer, I'm not an actor. So I find it hard to kind of make this stuff out and make people get really interested. Oh, it's really great story. Next, well, you know, you're going there and say, oh, that's a really great idea, but we've just done the mutant space ghost episode. So, you know, space one? Yes, I can do that. So you go and you pitch, and it really is. It's almost like winning the lottery because there are so many ideas being thrown in on an ongoing television show. You know, not only these guys making a show as you're pitching, but they're also putting together the next episode of the episode after that. And you have to be not only where they are in the same sort of mindset, but you have to be beyond that. You don't have to be thinking about what they're writing today, you have to be thinking about what they're writing tomorrow. You have to be writing the thing that will be beyond the thing that's beyond tomorrow. So you can come up with ideas that they haven't thought of. It's very, very difficult. It's like being on the dance floor, if you think of it that way. You know, just the closer you can throw to the middle of the dance floor, the more you can say. I think I ended up pitching over 3 years, the last three years of Voyager, I pitched something like 300 story ideas. I started with 2. That gives you an idea of how hard it is. And it was for me, like when I started the first one, it was like winning the lottery, because I'm a die-hard Star Trek fan. And I wanted to do this, and I wanted to make this mark in my career, get some credit. I'm trying to remember exactly how it happened. Yeah, that was Brian Fuller, who was introducing a show called Pushing Daisies. He did Dead Like Me, and he did... What's that one about? The show that set Niagara Falls.
Oh, well,
Wonderful. It was wonderful. He was a producer on it. He went on to become a producer on that show. But that time it was a story there. He was a really great guy, brilliant writer. Really taught me a lot. And I came in and I pitched the idea of one, which was kind of a chance to dream. Just before 7 and 9 had been introduced on the show, it was going to be a story about the doctor. It was going to be a story about the emergency medical hologram being on the ship by himself. And so we've got this new character, we don't know what her name is, we call her the Borg Girl. You know, we think she'll be wearing a bikini on the show. And basically we can make a story about the Borg Girl. And I came in on these ideas, and I knew he liked it, because he said to me, oh, it's like The Shining. It'd be like The Shining, and Voyager is the Overlook Hotel, and with the empty corridors and the scary sort of thing on our sail. And what happens is, I went over there, I pitched the idea, he took it off with me, he said, well, we'll call you. It's back and forth, we'll call you, And, I went blind, nothing happened. I thought, yeah, that's not going to work. And one Friday night, I had my mates around to role play. Every Friday night, we used to be sitting there playing Cyberpunk 2020. And, we would role play, but later on, the drunk we could get. And of course, Los Angeles, hours ahead, Friday night, there we are. We're all home. I'm gambling with them. Who the bloody hell was calling me up at 10:30? Ha ha ha! Who the hell is this? Hold for brand driver, please. So I'm like, and then my mates come barging in the room. Where's the beer? I can't find any beer! The brand driver says, pardon? Get out of the kitchen! So I got sober very quickly. Yes, Mr. Rogers, that's it. And I remember saying to me, so this story idea is pretty good, do you want to sell it to us? Well, duh. So like an hour later, I came back there, and my mates were sitting there like, where's the beer? And he's on the phone like, here's the beer, guess what? Hey! So that was my first sale, and I was really absolutely totally blown away by that. And a couple of weeks later, again working for Star Trek Monthly magazine, there's a release of a bunch of new Star Trek video games, bringing all these Star Trek writers over to magazine writers to do some coverage. And one of the things they're going to do is bring everybody to the set. So I didn't get to go over there when they were filming the episode. I got to go over there a little while later, and I'd seen some of the Russians. And there's a scene in the episode which really just kind of made me go, yes, this is exactly what I wanted to have happen. There were 7 of 9 in the engineering section. Everybody was big. She's got a phaser on, and she suddenly realizes that she's going naked. And when they do the thing, sort of contra zoom, when they pull the camera back out and they zoom in at the same time, you get that really weird kind of head swing moment. So she stands there and she's like doing this. And we're walking around the set, and I walked onto the engineering set, I'm looking up at the wall corridor. And I'm looking where Kerry is, where the camera was. I suddenly thought, I'm standing right where she was. I made her do that. I made this happen. And it was one of the greatest panic moments. And of course, once I'd done that, I was dancing around, I was in the ground, stuff everywhere, But then I thought to myself, the problem is now I look like I want to make money. I'm still a tourist in the industry. I didn't want to be the guy who's going around saying, I wrote one outline, what's the story premise? I wrote one story premise for Star Trek Voyager, and that's it. So I actually worked twice as hard to try and sell another one, because I didn't want people to say, yeah, good idea, I never did 2. Damn, we'll do 2. And again, pitching, shot down one after. The worst thing that would happen to the event, we would go into pitch, and they would go, that's a terrific idea, we just started shooting it. Yeah, is that fabulous? What, have you got like telepaths working? The thing is, because of a TV show, you know, when you have a show like, well, any show, you know, you've got a set number of characters, you've got a set number of stories that have been done, you've got these like backstory Trek stuff. There's only so many stories that can be told. And eventually people are going to start having sort of contiguous similar ideas. So then again, it's quite less difficult to actually try to find something that's new or even niche. And the second story I saw on Memorial, that was something that I really pulled out of my backside right at the last minute. I remember, again, being in Hollywood, going over there to pitch. I'm sitting in my hotel room. I had my little pitch on an index card. So I had like a big note sheet. I'm writing them out down to index cards to remind myself of my story. And then I'm in the taxi on the way to the Paramount building. Has anybody ever been out to LA? I've seen the big Paramount at Melrose Avenue. It's 5555 Melrose. It's a great big archway, big sort of plaster archway. If you ever see it on TV, when I show you the Paramount, that's what they show. I'm in the back of the taxi cab. I'm thinking, this is good, this is not that good, this is good, what are you going to do? And my confidence level started to drop. I thought, I think of something else. There in the cab, I thought, that's not bad, that is. Scribbled something down the back of the pen. So I went in and got this idea. And you have to be completely and utterly heartless to that. If someone comes up to you and says, pitch an idea, and you pitch the idea and they go, I don't like it. You can't go, you sure you don't want to think again? No. Give it, you know, kill your babies. Check it out. I went through 4 or 5 pitches. Brian's going, no. Got to the very end, and I thought, this entire trip's been a waste of time. I'm all the way out here from LA for 2 weeks, all the money I've spent to come out here, I am not going to make a sale. And he was like, yeah, well, I'm going to see you, maybe come back in a couple of weeks. And I'm getting up, and he said, do you have anything else? Yeah, this is one thing. I wrote in the cab on the way here. Well, what can I hear? I said, why did your crew wake up with memories of a war they never fought in? He went, soul. What? Can you write that up? Yes. Right now? Just give me a second. Yeah, that's great. Brian had this office that was full, just thinking about it, it's just gone back into my head. Brian had this office full of toys, and he had a life-size Eric Cartman. Literally, you know, this huge, great big stuffed Eric Cartman in a big glass house. So I would be sitting there pitching, and I'm talking to him, Brian's there, and Eric Cartman's staring at me. Really, that would concentrate on my mind. Yes, bitch, So that was how I got myself on Star Trek. And then I went in and I pitched for Enterprise. Again and again and again. I never made any sales on that show, which was a great shame because Enterprise really had a lot of potential, but I really didn't know what to do with that show. So I'd go in maybe like twice a year and say, well, what are we doing now? Like, well, we were going to do something with the Klingons, but we're going to do Romulans now. Orions. Because everybody's going in different directions. I don't think they really had a very coherent idea of how they wanted to tell that kind of story. But that was basically my kind of, you know, my little Star Trek adventure. What's the story about the set? Alright.
Yes.
Push yourself.
This is my favourite piece. She's laughing. Well, you've all seen Voyager, you know what the ship looks like. Voyager's sets used to be on 2 separate sound stations. One particular room, so you had a bridge, you get a corridor, there was a mess hall, like a cruise hall room with a change and on the other side you had another bit of corridor, you had sick bay engineering, and it was a really brilliant set, really Cadillac quality set. Once you went on there, this big corridor that arches around, you go in and it was like you were really there. There was nowhere you could look where you weren't seeing. You wouldn't sort of like turn around and there'd be like a great big hole in the wall, it was like a cardboard and sort of also it would all look like you were on a starship. Which is great, you know. When I was walking along the corridor and they had the red alert lights on, and they were both on the same light circuit, both rooms. So if they wanted to have the red alert lights on in one set, they had to have them on both. So of course they wouldn't have people filming in 2 separate sets or one sound station. So So I walked in and they're filming on the bridge set, and I'm walking down the corridor, and there's red lights down the corridor, you know, sort of arcing down the corridor. And I'm walking along, and I just started walking straight, you know. Mechanical engineering. What did you have? I'm like, you can't help doing it. I'm just like, so I'm just walking along, like, you know, and then maybe, you know, it's Captain Janeway. So we went in and they were filming on the bridge, and they had, you know, the guy who played Tuvok, Tim Russ, and Robert Duncan McNeil played Tom Paris. What a pair of complete idiots those two guys were. Because they were just cracking up all the time. And there's Tim Russ dressed like Tuvok, who's doing this, standing on his console doing like a Ray Charles thing. And then Kate Mulgrew comes on. Kate Mulgrew is like the Queen. She just walks in, it's very Queenie, you know, comes in, she will do her lines of dialogue. And now I will leave. And off they went, and the PR girl who was chaperoning me, she said to me, wait here, don't steal anything. So everybody goes through this little corridor between the two sets. So I'm standing there, you know, waiting for Rex Hospital. I was there to meet with Rob Beltran, so I'm sitting around, you know, waiting. And I suddenly realised I was alone on the bridge of Georgia. Nobody at all in the entire soundstage, just me. And it's all lit up and all switched on. And I keep thinking, and I had a little talk with paper. I was like, so I still have this tape of me dictating this effect. Wow, look at that. And they have on the Voyager bridge, you know, the view screen. They have what's called in the trades called wild warp, which means you can pull it out. And that's where they bring the cameras in. And then if they want to shoot from the back, they'll bring back the back end and move another one bit of the ceiling. So I went in, and I'm just kind of looking, and I'm trying really hard not to be too geeky. You know, there's like a geek warring with a professional guy. Go on, push on the buttons! And Studio for Deal, who plays Dr. Bashir on Deep Space Nine, suddenly walks in. I'm like, okay. And he was with 2 or 3 people. It was a bunch of people who were friends with him, his cousins. He was giving them a tour of the set. So that was fine. I just followed them around for a bit. And I'm walking around the bridge looking at stuff. And another friend, he's gone as well. So now I'm actually on the set, actually on the bridge, not just standing outside the I'm actually standing on the bridge. Alone. Completely. So I ain't saying the shit. Yeah, because I'm a professional. And I tell you, you know, I wouldn't do something like that. I would not, for example, sit in Tom Paris's chair and go, chair goes left, chair goes right. I would not sit in Tom Paris's chair and go, for example, walk to the engineering console and sort of like go, shield's gonna take it, Captain! For example, walk to Tuvok's console going, obviously we underestimated the power of Klingon battle crews. I would not go to sit in Captain Janeway's chair and do this. And this is the thing, you know, remember that Kirk pose that he'd always do? I sat down in her chair, and I don't make me feel into this position. Yeah, and the thing that you don't know about that concept, all the little there's loads of in-jokes, gags written in there that you can't see that the actors can actually read. On Tuvok's console, there's a button marked, get me off this TV series. And on the engineering console, there's the I can you take it button. But that was really cool. So that's I didn't do any of those things, no. I didn't do any of those things. Sometimes I wonder if like, there was a camera somewhere recording that, and they kind of still show that at Paramount Christmas party. But that was pretty cool, you know. And you know, it was really weird walking around a set that I'd seen on TV for like the last 4 or 5 years. You know, after a while, when you watch sci-fi show, when you watch any kind of show, you see those things, you get almost, I mean, you know, we know intellectually that it's not real, but you get a sense of it as if it is almost a real place. And when you're there, you know, I can't describe it, like it was just really strange to be, on one level, know intellectually that, yes, this is all just possible, plastic, but it's the bridge of Voyager. Yeah, it's been lucky with the job I've had being a sort of sci-fi journalist. I mean, fictional places I've been to, everything. So, Voyager, I've been on board Deep Space Nine, sat in the captain's chair of the Enterprise NX-01, Defiant, I've been on the White Star and Babylon 5, I've been in Dana Scully's bedroom. Yes, I did look in her underwear drawer. A friend of mine used to work on X-Files, Jeff Mandel's a graphic artist, he worked on Serenity and Star Trek Insurrection. He said to me, you know, coming to visit him, he said, do you want to come on the set of the X-Files? Ooh, let me think. Yeah, it was great, because Scully's house was next door to the Mulder place. I don't know if you remember, the Mulder had a fridge with like, the fridge magnet stuck all over it. Like, you know, the sort of Roswell-shaped fridge magnet. And there was a big sort of alien, you know, the Schwa alien sort of thing. And I walked over and I turned it upside down to see it was like next time I saw it on TV. I thought it is about me getting into the bedrooms of famous science fiction movies. Because actually now I think about it, I've been in Janeway's quarters, and Major Kira's quarters, and the lens as well actually. I don't know, it's just like I'm like into like this anti. I haven't done a lot of movie sets. I was on one of the Bond movie sets. I've got a good story about that. Tomorrow Never Dies, when they were shooting that down in Leicester. I was covering that for, again, I was doing all the behind the scenes guys, and another guy was doing all the stars. So I thought, oh well, I want to get Stevie close to the director on special effects and all this stuff like that. And you know, in the end of the movie, they've got the double hull stealth boat. There's a big battle sequence at the end when Michelle Yeoh comes in. Blows the crap out of her. I was absolutely starstruck because Michelle Yeoh was there. She's a fantastic martial arts actress. And I'm a big fan of her. She's tiny. This tiny wee little woman. You know, I've seen you beat up Jackie Chan. And she's doing this thing with she's got a machine gun in either hand. And when they're doing on movie sets, you know, they put these special loud blanks in so the sound registers correctly. But they don't fire them off in the rehearsal. So it's just great to see where Michelle Yeoh comes out with these two guns going bang, 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 bang. Very serious, filming. So they went to do the actual show, and we all got earplugs in there. Full foot of flame coming out of these guns. It's really, really noisy. And you know how when you've got headphones, you can talk louder. And after it was kind of went, bloody hell, God, that was loud. I turned around, Pierce Brosnan standing next to me. Yeah, he is. Hi, Pierce Brosnan. As if I didn't know who he was. And I should have thought, duh. So who what's your name? Swallow. James Swallow. And your servant license to write. No, I didn't say that. I've been far too cool. Famous. Oh, right. He's like, give me my hand. But that was great. I called up my dad. My dad's the kind of guy who's not really a science fiction fan. And I've been writing for years and years and years. My dad really never understood what he did for a living. I said, guess what, Dad? I was written something about James Bond. He went, finally, you're a writer! I met James Bond. He's like, my son's so proud. Finally, he got what I did. Because he said, well, James Bond, that's real, you know, science fiction. Yeah, that's real. Okay. But yeah, so that was kind of like my early career was doing stuff like that, was interviewing famous people and going to sets and stuff. I don't do a lot of that now. I miss it because it's just so cool. What other shows I've done? Andromeda. Anybody here a fan of that? Early Andromeda. Yeah. That was a really cool set actually. They had, because you remember they had the two starships at the Andromeda and they had the Reaper Maru. The Andromeda was a huge set, but it looked like the kind of the lobby of a Las Vegas hotel. It was all glitzy and sort of like shiny. You could have actually put the Voyager bridge inside it, so and then the Eureka Maru was really cool. That was this big, long, sort of blade folding style spaceship. Great big, this sort of bubble cockpit in the front. I actually sat in the cockpit. Get out! And Stargate. That was the other show. This is way back before they were doing Atlantis. And Stargate, the people on Stargate were great because in Hollywood, the Americans tend to be very, very sort of closed-lipped and very, very careful about letting them on set. But the guys in Canada were like, no, yeah, feel free. what's that under your coat? Stargate's fine, take it away. They're really just dragging me out, they're just rolling it. You can imagine that pulling back to the customer. And when I went out there to do that, I was interviewing all the different actors. It was the show, it was Michael Shanks' first directing. It was an episode called Double Jeopardy. Remember the robot doubles? The best you made is one where they came back. And PR girl, Bridget, she took me on set. She said, right, take a look. And of course I'm walking like, wow. It's not actually that big a set. It's funny, they make it really, it's TV magic, they make it look really fantastic. They make it look larger, where they shoot it, low or high angles, the way they light it. And I'm walking around the corridors and everything, thinking, wow, this is the SGC. And there's those big doors that open. When you see the shot of the gate room, there's one door there, and there's one door there, and there's the gate open. I walked out the door and she went, no. You go to the gate with glass. They set the best of glass. And all the other rooms, went through the Fraser's medical lab and everything. And right next to that, they had the craft services table, which is where they lay out the food for the actors. Like, there's Teal stuck in his face with donuts. Hey, how you doing? And they took me through into the gate room, and I'm like, it's such an iconic thing, the show from Stargate. Wow, trying to be professional, and the geek inside me going, it's the Stargate! And Bridget looked at me, she's grinning, she goes, yeah, we get that a lot. I was hanging at the foot of the ramp, and she said, well, go ahead. I know you want to. I walked up ramp, and you remember in the movie, when James Spader walks up to the event horizon, and just that's what I did. I walked up to where the event horizon was, and I thought, and when the shimmer effect, okay, so when you see that, and it's like lovely sort of, the way they do that is they have mylar sheets, and reflective in silver mylar sheets, they have spotlights on. What they do is they just kind of shake them like when you do this. So I'm looking at the shimmer, and I turned around like this, and there's the gate room up there, the control room. And as I turned around like this, I didn't realise they were doing it. They switched the shimmer effect on. And it was like, this is what I would see if I just stepped through the Stargate. But the freaking was, I went over to the side of the gate, and I went down like this, and I'm looking, and I reached out hand to sort of look at. And in the opening titles of like season 9? What's season when Cameron Mitchell turned up? Season 9. Cameron Mitchell does that in the opening title of season 9. I'm like, are you covering me? And I just wonder if they saw me doing that and they thought, everybody does that, let's just put it in the opening title. I was watching that, I did that, yeah. That was really cool. And the scene they were shooting was where the android guy Harlan comes through the Stargate. And all the troops come running in. And I went into the area on the other side, and there were like 400 or 500 extras all wearing full body armor, machine guns, and everything like that. And all dressed as like US Marines, hardcore extract troops. These two guys talking about something.
So, have you seen the stage today?
I'm standing like this with an assault rifle.
I'm going for a part. I don't know if it's really me. What do you think?
Secret life of the SG-1 Marine. I'm running so much as mints, I think it's great that the SG sees an equal opportunity employer doesn't
Don't ask, don't tell.
And legions of fanfic writers have been writing about that kind of stuff for years anyway, so kind of there's a And after I came up with it, they said to me, well, you can just wander around. And I thought I'd be chaperone for us. And they're like, fine, as long as you don't steal anything, like the Stargate, you can do whatever you want. And it was great. So I'm sitting in Hammond's office with my feet on the desk, picking up the red phone, going, no, Mr. President, I'm afraid I'm in charge now. And at one point, I found myself working on some notes for an interview. And I was sitting at the edge, the briefing room, just scribbling away, and I kind of stopped. And I suddenly realised where I was. And again, I had that weird geek moment. Daniel Jackson sits there. No, this is a film set. This isn't the real place, but it's just like for a second, you think you're actually there. And then years later, when I've been writing Star Trek Voyager stories, and when I'm writing Star Trek Stargate SG-1 stories, having literally been there, every time I'm writing it, that just kind of explodes back in my head. I think it's, you know, it's really cool. Yeah, so I am really, really lucky to be, I like to think of myself as a geek turned pro, and I'm lucky that I've had some really fantastic experiences going to these places and meeting these interesting people. Could brought you guys with me.
You do that next time.
Next time, yeah.
I brought some friends.
Sorry, few friends.
Yeah.
Jane,
Yes.
do you think because they know a lot of the writers are, a lot of science fiction writers are actually geeks turned pros, is that why they're more amenable and quite happy to let you wander around and just geek out?
I think, you can't do what we do without being a fan. I mean, there's degrees of fan, but if you don't have that fanish love for the genre of your writing, it doesn't matter what that is. It doesn't matter if you're a romance writer or write historical fiction or doing something. If you don't have a fan's love for your material, that's when you start.
I get the feeling from interviews with people, somebody I know who's also been on the set as a reporter, that they are as big as geeks as we are. And that's why they're quite happy to have geeks aboard and join in.
I think they know that, nobody's really going to steal anything, we're all just going to have to be there. Yeah, I mean, the people certainly the guys on Stargate, I think definitely serious hard movies. They're very good comics fans, actually. I think all of them would like to be writing heroes rather than writing Stargate. I mean, it wasn't not so much on Star Trek. Most of the people on Star Trek were geeks for different stuff. It's like I was saying about Brian Fuller was a huge South Park fan, and that's a completely different sort of breed of geek from a Star Trek fan. But nonetheless, they still have the inner geekiness, so they understand kind of like what it is to be geek. I am geek, you can go. They understand what it is to be that dedicated to something. But at the same time, they're all still professional. So when you get right down to it, as fun as that is, it is still a job. And it's a great job. But at the same time, you still do have to punch a clock. You still do have to get your work done. And sometimes it's not a great job. Bad things happen. Something doesn't go the way you want it. But coming back to what you said, I think you need to have that geekness. Do it right, because otherwise it shows through. If you don't care about what you do, no matter how good a writer you are, how good an actor you are, if your performance, in whatever medium it is not there, the audience is going to know that, and they know you're just phoning it in.
I think a lot of these shows, like Star Trek and Andromeda and Stargate, you get to see that the actors and crew really get involved. They get it.
Yeah.
And you say it's not just that 9-to-5 job. They get it. They get involved. They enjoy it.
It's always great when you find out that somebody on TV show really is like a proper hardcore geek. Nathan Fillion from Firefly, fanboy, really truly. I'll tell you how I know this. It was at Firefly convention. And it was, you remember when season 1 Doctor Who Dalek aired? It was that weekend, Firefly convention, and the entire convention stopped. So everybody could go and watch Dalek in the main hall. And it was Firefly convention, who cares? Doctor Who will watch it. Most of the cast of Firefly was there, and somebody had a Dalek as well. And I was in agreement with this, Daleks, and a couple of American actors were going, what the hell is this? I had no clue what it was. And Nathan Fillion and Jules State, both Canadians, of course, got seen lots of Doctor Who. Jules goes, it's Dalek. What, are you stupid? No. and it's girl plays Inara, Lorena Brackett. Lorena's like, I've never seen this thing. What is it? Not particularly scary. And she's like, it's a Dalek. Of course it's scary. And then Nathan Fillion walks in and goes, it's a Dalek. They're home planet Skara. They're created by Daphne. He's like, you know, geek as I am, like, absolutely. Malcolm Reynolds is a fanboy. Rock on.
Well, so his boss is the ultimate geek.
Oh yeah, Josh. Yeah. Yeah, I mean he's. Yeah, I mean he looks like a geek. Hairy, slightly smelly, a bit weird. Yeah. So any other questions?
What is your plan for the future?
Oh, okay. I don't know. For the universe, maybe.
Cool.
What am I doing right now? Right now, I've just started work on a new Warhammer 40,000 novel, part of the Blood Angel series that I did a couple of years ago. Beyond that, I'm doing a new mini-series for Big Finish, for the guys who do the Big Finish CD. The year before last, they did a series called Cyberman, which is basically it's a Doctor Who story without Doctor Who in it. It's just about the Cybermen invading Earth and wacky hijinks ensue. And I've just been handed that, so I'm doing 4-part Cyberman mini-series. That's going to be a lot of fun to do. I'm trying to write it in the tone of, if you think of the Americans in Basra, the Cybermen invading Earth, we're going to do like occupied Earth, it's kind of Iraq War parallel kind of thing. That's going to be politically charged, lots of stuff like that. So, pretty much in everything I write, and then everything explodes! So I'm looking forward to doing that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And that will be middle of next year, all part of 4 CD series. There's a project I can't talk about. Stargate. No. There's another project I'm working on right now that's going to be announced in the next month or so. And I've got a bunch of Star Trek books coming out. So I'm doing a Deep Space Nine novel. They're doing a trilogy of Deep Space Nine novels called the Terror of More series, which is going to cover the 50-year period before the beginning of the first season. So it's how Beta got invaded and what happened there. And it's quite a new thing for me. It's a talk political thriller. It doesn't have much stuff exploding in it, actually. Most of the people talking and shouting at each other. Things like that kind of thing. That's not a lot of fun. But yeah, I think, you know, in a broader sense, just writing is the music. I mean, one of the great things about doing what I do is because there's so many avenues of writing open. People come to me and say, you know, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. You know, I hear about things on the grapevine. It's never the same job month to month. It's, you know, it's a lot of fun to just be able to just pick a project and say, well, let's do that for a while, and see where it takes us. So I kind of go where the wind blows, but you know, I'm enjoying it. Gary.
2 questions then. One, would you like to write a new Battlestar Galactica? And what would you do? And the other is, have you ever had writer's block? And how do you get over this? Or what do you end up just running around the house all day? Or
My hair is on fire! No, well, Galactica sadly is going to be no more music. So, I have actually talked to you guys who do the Galactica novels about writing and stuff for them, but those books have been doing pretty well. And I think the truth is they pick things right, don't really show that well. It's a shame. Such a great material. I would have loved to have written the Pegasus story. They're doing it. They've done it. They're raising it. When I saw that 2-part episode, I thought, well, what was their story? How did they get away from Africa? You hear about all these. You know, has everybody seen it? I'm assuming. You know, it's not exactly what you call the best. I think that would have been a really interesting story to see the backstory of those characters. And maybe it kind of would have been fun to pull a few elements from the old show. You know, I mean, that's what I liked. I liked that when they did that about stuff like in the new show, when they took stuff from the old series and kind of got a bit of a weird spin. That might be fun to pull up something like that. As a writer's block, no such thing. It doesn't exist. If I might do a writer's workshop or I do a panel where they say, you know, people who say they've got a writer's block just aren't doing it.
can you remain singularly focused then as you move from one thing to another?
Yeah, sure. Walk out and play some video games. Oh, like, you know, watch television. Oh yeah, work. Right? We have a term for this. All the writers I work with talk about pencil sharpening. You know, it's that kind of work you do. It's not really any work that you're doing to avoid doing actually any work at all. I'm sharpening all my pencils just to make sure they're all sharp, and then eventually I'll sharpen them again because I'm sure I'll get to my work. Oh look, it's lunchtime. Other than that, you know, some TV. I mean, I know some people feel that writer's block is a very good thing. I mean, I think that writing is a job. I approach it as I'm not an artist, I'm a craftsman. That's what I like to do. Plumbers don't get plumbers block. You know, I look at myself as being a writer in the same way. It's like, get up, it's a job. I work 10 till 6, 5 days a week. 6 days, well, no, actually 5 or 6 days a week. An hour for lunch, an hour in the morning to sort of serve on Netflix, emails and stuff like that. But I sit down and I work. And if at the end of the day I write something and it's not very good, then I'll go back and edit it. But I will have written something by the end of the day. Because if you just sit there and say, I can't write, then you're not a writer. You need to, if you want to do it, I mean, you can not do that to be a writer. If you don't want to be a professional writer, if you don't want to be a person who's supporting myself. I mean, I work that hard because I'm supporting myself solely through my writing. I mean, you could, take your time over, say 3 or 4 years to write, you can say you had nothing, you can still be a writer. But when I'm thinking of, when I say writer, I'm thinking of a writer like me, a guy who does it every day, 9 to 5, punching a clock. And I think if you let yourself believe that there is such a thing as writing a block, then you just stop writing it. I mean, I've had times when the tank's empty, when I kind of sit there and think, nothing. And I write something, I think, that's crap. But I have written it. And I will go back later on and go, that's such good again. And that's fine, because you're still writing. And it's still an iterative experience, it's still a process where you're writing something, that doesn't work, you do it again, to make it better. But I don't think it's right to sit there and go, I can't write. The muse doesn't strike. My muse, she's gone off down the shops, I don't think of her. I write, I don't wait for the sort of lightning to strike me. And I think anybody who buys into that mindset has hit half the fast. And that sounds partial. Anybody else?
About Skull.
Okay.
Where did you get the inspiration for his character?
Oh, okay. Skull is a character from Stargate Atlantis novel, the House. And he's a wraith. The wraith in that show. The reason I wrote a character like Skull was I wanted to have a character who did a little bit more than the wraith in the show did, because, ever here, watch Atlantis? You know what they're like, the wraith kind of just turn out and they hiss a bit, and immediately a bit pale, and they get out of the sun much. And that's more or less what they do, is they just kind of growl and snarl, and they're thrown in at the end, and it's only when they had the character Michael, and it isn't the wraith, they actually started to develop some character. And I thought, no bad guy, like they always say about villains, no bad guy thinks that they're bad, but everybody thinks they're the hero of their own story. And I wanted to write a wraith who was quite unspeakably unpleasantly evil, but actually had some character, actually had a bit of dimension. Because on the TV show, things are going on quite quickly. We've only got 45 minutes to tell a story, and they don't really dwell on the villains. It's a story about the Atlantis team, it's not a story about the wraith. But because I had a novel, I had 100,000 words to do, I could easily give that character a bit more room to breathe. So I just decided, let's have a focal character, let's make it a little bit more well-rounded, and find out what kind of person he is. And of course, he's a complete scumbag, because that's what the wraith are like. A predatory life form that sucks the life out of you. What kind of guy are you going to be with that sort of character? Okay.
Tax auditor.
Yeah. State agent, maybe. Yeah, that was my motivation for doing that kind of character. One of the good things about doing a tiny novel is that you get to open up the world of the story. When you're doing a book, you get to give characters viewpoints, so you can write about what John Shepard is thinking, as opposed to kind of having reacting to what you're doing the script. And you get to go places and maybe kind of dwell on a bit of background, backstory that maybe you wouldn't get to talk about if it's on a movie before a TV show. So people say, no, when I come to the chase, when you see the stuff flying up, whereas you say, well, I did a bit where I talked about what kind of religion do the wraith have? Do they actually have a religion? It's just not found line of dialogue, for instance. It's, you're going to die, maybe you should make peace with the gods. And Taylor and Martin was thinking, what kind of gods do the wraith have? And that's never been addressed in the show. So who knows if they even have. But it's interesting to just, for a second, kind of tease that sort of element out. And that's a great example of, what you can do with a tiny novel. You can broaden the spectrum and take it to places that you haven't gone to before. Of course, the problem is, at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you don't break anything. You have to bring everything back to the way it was. It's not like the kind of dreaded reset button where you can't change things too radically. It's like, I did an interview about Doctor Who novel coming up. The Doctor Who kid, you know, you're allowed to go, you're allowed to play with their toys, you're allowed to do all sorts of crazy things, but you can't put sticky fingerprints all over them, and you're not allowed to break them. So at the end of the day, you have to leave the sandbox more or less the way you found it, with the toys nice and clean. In the meantime, you can smash them, beat them up, but you have to put them back together at the end of the day. And that kind of creates a unique challenge, because you want to try and grow the characters, you want to take up a lesson they haven't been to, but at the same time you can't suddenly reveal, John Shepherd's long lost, quadruple twin family sort of turning out of nowhere and all these crazy stuff. Atlantis gets destroyed and you can't just completely blow things to pieces. Because otherwise, you trust with MGM or whatever license there happens to be. Oh no, John's interesting writing alien characters, In most sci-fi, really, aliens aren't really that alien. Let's be honest, we can't really get into the mindset of something that's truly alien because we wouldn't be able to do it. Most science fiction aliens are a funhouse mirror reflection of what we're in Star Trek. The original Star Trek was brilliant about half black, half white guy. Oh, it's not like you're racist. A bit on the nose, but still, But the thing is, if you look past that, it's a great tool. We're sort of saying, well, here we are, we're actually doing this, we're talking about this, Battlestar Galactica, we talk a lot about war in Iraq, the cyber thing that I'm going to be doing is very much influenced by, what I've been seeing on television. Because, as a writer, you're drawing your influence from everything around you. The entire world is, what makes you great. And it's interesting to be able to do that in a sci-fi medium or science fiction, fantasy, or horror story. Because people sometimes will look at a story, you're doing a bare-faced story about the war in Iraq, let's say. There are a lot of people who go, I'm not going to read that, it's blue. Then you write a science fiction story that's a parallel, and they'll read that and they'll look at the war in Iraq and think, that's a bit analogous to this. Perhaps they'll approach it, kind of stealth around the back by beginning. You might say, well, have you thought about this? Have you considered that this might relate to this one? Science fiction is a really good way of doing it, because you just kind of sneak in without really.
How did you get involved with the big finishes?
Oh, that's asked directly, basically. I pitched a couple of Doctor Who ideas when the BBC still had the license to do the paperbacks before the new series came out. Pitched a couple of ideas, didn't really do very well. My kind of Doctor Who career in an iterative process. Pitching, no, pitch, yes, great, brilliant. It's very difficult to get a handle on that character. But once I got it, it's like, great! So I pitched a few ideas to the BBC, which didn't get off the ground, and I knew a few of the guys at Big Finish. And I actually got into work with them on the Judge Dredd series, the audio drama series. I was a big fan of the comic from 2000. Anybody here read that? Hey! I read that since I was a kid, back in 78, 77 when it first came out. And when I found out they were doing Judge Dredd audio dramas, I've always had a hankering to do radio. I thought, I'd love to go that. Because most radio drama, when you hear it, you've got that idea of this kind of radio force of like, there's all characters, we're all sitting in a cardboard box, having a conversation. Oh look, moon's exploding. And that's the kind of radio force inside. It's very sort of prim and proper. And I'm like, no, I want to do sort of, kicking down doors, this Judge Dredd stuff exploding and that kind of thing. And I remember the first play I wrote was kind of Dreadline, which is basically kind of, it's almost sort of, it's like kind of a bit like the Cassandra Crossing or Terror on the Orient Express. Judge Dredd on a train with a bomb, a nuclear bomb, and everything's going to explode eventually. And Judge Dredd kicking down doors and shooting people and doing this Judge Dredd sort of thing. And at the end, Bermuda gets nuked. That's what happens at the end of the story. And I remember the guy who was doing the special effects for it, Steve Foxton, said to me, you know what? The audio drama stuff, the effects that you've done in your audio drama are more than everybody else's all put together. Because you've got like helicopter gunships and gunfire and trains and things exploding. I'm like, yeah, it's great, isn't it? Brilliant. I tried to write the kind of the equivalent of a sort of Steven Seagal action movie for radio. Radio has this impression of being like a passive medium. I thought, well, why can't we have the same kind of heart-pounding, visceral, kind of wow, look at that kind of moment? The real kind of crowd-pleasing moments you get from a brilliant action movie. And so, I went back to Die Hard, actually, which is, I think Die Hard is probably, I would say, it's the best action movie of all time. It's a brilliantly written script, great clockwork story that everything happens at just the right point. And I looked at that and thought, I want to tell that kind of a story, that level of each, impetus and each thing that trumps the next thing and builds and builds and builds until everything explodes. And I wanted to do a story like that. And I was also heavily influenced by 24 as well, because the story is only a 60-minute teleplay, and so it's actually told in real time. There's even a joke in the middle of it where Judge Dredd does any kind of, remember the first season of 24 is like, my name is Jack Barris, the longest day of my life. I actually put a line of dialogue in Judge Dredd says that. Big fan of 24. But yeah, so working on the Judge Dredd, I did that one, the Dredd line, and then I did another one called Jihad, and then I was calling it the last minute to salvage one at the end of the series called Run to Dead, which again, I was like, right, I'll put a plane crash in the middle of that, that'd be good. The first one had a crashing train, the second one had an exploding blimp, and the third one had, plane crash in it. So they were like, oh god, here we go again. Like, it's going to sound like this one. How are we going to do that? I don't know, it's your job, I've just written it. Ha-ha! So we did that. And off the back of it, and as you can tell, I had an absolute ball doing it. I really, really enjoyed putting it together. Radio is the best medium for science fiction because you've got the greatest special effects budget in the world. As long as you can conjure it, as long as you can get actors who can sell it, and you get the sound effects and music guys who can sell you the action around it, it'll just unfold in your head like wine. So off the back of that, they asked me to come in and do a Doctor Who, which was completely different. And they're like, could you not have so much stuff exploding? Actually, there's a skyscraper blows up at the end of it. Predictable? What? Yeah, again. I don't know. That just worked well. There's a skyscraper in Moscow explodes in the story. But again, that was really different because, it's Doctor Who and there's completely different sort of textures or something like that. There is the sort of the high tensile kind of comic drama action of Dredd. But that was kind of how I got into doing that through the back door of doing the Judge Dredd videos, which were a lot of fun. You really had a great time doing it. They didn't sell that much, so we only did 2 seasons of those. And then from there, I've just done one of the Companion Chronicles series, which is kind of like an audio play and kind of like a talking book. It's basically like a two-hander. So what they've done is they wanted to do Doctor Who audios for doctors that aren't alive and Tom Baker won't do it. So they've got actors who play companions to tell you the story. So you've got Deborah Watkin saying, and then the doctor said, oh look, darling, and so she's doing, she's describing the story to you, and there's one other actor who's coming to support it. And the first season did very, very well. The first season got a fantastic play written by Mark Black, Frostfire. Thoroughly recommend it. Really, really excellent. And they sent me a copy of that and I listened to it. I thought, great, I can do this. Because of the, this weird sort of halfway house between telling and talking about radio play that kind of moves from one to the other. It's really interesting. It's a very different challenge to write that kind of story. And they said, what companion do you want? I suppose Brigadier Pete. Because he's such a great character. I've always been fascinated by the idea of him because, military man, a guy with a sort of warrior's mindset. And then you've got the Doctor, who's just completely opposite from that. But yet 2 guys approaching the same kind of problems from 2 completely different points of view. And we've never really seen what does the Brigadier really think of the Doctor? What's his personal reaction towards that guy? So this was a story told from the Briggs point of view, and I had an absolute ball doing it as well. Nicholas thought, what a gent, brilliant guy. Came in, he's like, and I'm the Brigadier. And I was like, yes, you certainly are. Speaks fluent Swahili. There's a weird bit of trivia. If I'd have known that, I would have written into the play. And really great chap. He did this fantastic John Pertwee impersonation. He's a Doctor turns to me, I think Brigadier, what's going on here? And we were like, it's like he's channeling John Pertwee. So that was really, really cool. And he had the right level of kind of world viewing. The way the story is written, it's like the Brigadier it starts with the Brigadier in a gentleman's club, having a glass of scotch, and he's telling you this story, and it kind of segues into this thing that happened back in the 1970s. And he had this fantastic ability of just, 1 minute he's like old brig, he's like as old as he is, and then he goes back and then suddenly he's the young sort of, post Doctor Who and the Silurians Brigadier, and then he's back to 40, back to fantastic, but he's got such a great, lovely, rich English voice. So that was a lot of fun to do. Very different from all the other types I've done. And then after that, it'll be the Cyberman thing, and possibly another Doctor Who thing. We're still trying to sort that out. Possibly a Cyberman story with Silver McCoy. But I have a meeting next week with my boss called Nick Briggs, boss at Big Finish, called me up and went, don't like this, come for a meeting, you smack around the head and make you do it properly. Yes, boss. He's a lot of fun working with Nick Briggs, he's the guy that voices the Daleks. 10 minutes, 10 per week. Yes, sorry, I'm rambling. Another question.
Is there anything you haven't done that you'd like to do to spend in the lifestyle?
Make more money? Yes, tough call. I had a conversation with David Kington. You guys know David Kington? Yes. Dave and I were talking about if we had our choice of any fictional universe that we could write in, what would we do? We were sort of talking about how we'd have to fight each other to write a James Bond story. Indiana Jones, big fan of the Indiana Jones franchise. Firefly, lots of Firefly. But I mean, I think in terms of a greater sort of writer point of view, I would love to do a feature film. I haven't done that. I'd love to try and write something that kind of, maybe not even epic scope, but just the idea of doing a movie would be kind of cool. I love the idea of sitting in the dark and sitting and seeing what neighbours just everything. Yeah, that's pretty deep. Anybody else? I feel like I've just been rambling.
We like that. Just I did mention it last night when I thought I am a fan. You mentioned you'd love to do a Space 99 story. What would you want to do?
Oh, well, yeah.
I mean, are you still, who's your favourite character or something like that? Try and make it quick.
Space 99, I love that show. It's one of those kind of rose-tinted glasses shows. Space 99 is brilliant. You watch it again, you go,
Yeah.
And the foam monster episode. Every 1970s show had a foam monster. It's like, we've got the foam machine. The guy got the thing about the bathroom. Rings of Wonder. What episode that was? Do you remember that one? Things coming in. Anyway. What I liked about Space 1999 is that was a show that was on when I was a kid. I mean, Saturday morning watching that, Sally James introducing Sally James. In the second season, the boys in my school we had a crush on Maya. Girl look at change for me. What's not like? I mean, what I liked about that show was it was a Jerry Anderson show, so the tech was always really cool. Always had that kind of big voice toys. But the characters in the show that I really like Alan Carter. And I like Victor Bergman as well, and I was really sad they killed him off. Because he was really the heart of the show. I mean, the thing about Space 99 that I thought was its failure was very co-faced, a bit up itself, It didn't have the humour that Star Trek did. Star Trek kind of just laughed at itself and did a bit more. Space 99 kind of had a bit of water on the backside. I think I would have liked to have seen them kind of lose that, be a bit more flexible. But I liked Victor Bergman's character because he was the only one who seemed to be going in that direction. And I always think one of my favourite scenes of the show is, that speech he gives. Is it the show? It's one of the episodes where they're going to leave.
Thinking war games, so you speak for your man town.
Yeah, come and seek us out. Yeah, that was really troubling moment. That was great. And then they kill him off in the gap between season 1 and season 2. Thanks for that. Oh yeah.
So we actually had a chance to go back to it.
Oh, that's bad. Yeah.
And I remember being horrified, not because it was the fact that someone had woken up and then died.
Yeah, that's really quite
terrible
tragic.
that he didn't deserve because it has to be work.
That's quite nasty when he gets the Comlock and he says, can you hear me? Actually, no, you're still in orbit around the moon.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah, that's just the it's one of those slightly found at the telly. You wouldn't expect people like Jerry Anderson that's always asking you, because you imagine the terrorists would be so low.
chucked in a plastic perspex box, because it really is weird information. Yeah, I mean, Space 1999 had, if you look past the kind of hokiness of the movies, it's the same as UFOs. It's like, they've got really good stories.
There's a certain morality play in certain Space 1999 stories that probably slightly better than Classic Train.
I think
you are right.
They're two kind of different. I think they're two sides of the same coin. A lot of those shows, again, we can't back to what I said earlier, where the science fiction tell those kind of archetypal sort of stories in a different sort of way. And I think there's definitely a very strong element of that in Space 1999. I mean, now I think about it, it's kind of hard for me to pin down exactly why I have so much love for that show. I don't know. It's part of my childhood TV landscape, I suppose. Look at the texture of it. Just the sheer magnitude of the idea of the movie being blown out of orbit. And I mean, good drama comes from when you get characters in a box and you shut the box off. And that's what Space 1999 really is. It's just these characters stuck out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, if anything, now I'm looking at it from the eyes of an adult, I would like to have seen go through even more extreme situations. You look at what's been done with the new Battlestar Galactica, you see how that people are being put under pressure. And even then, in Battlestar Galactica, not dealing with stuff like where people get food and water from. Something like Space 1999, if you did an updated version of that, that would be very interesting. Where would you get food? When you get down to the kind of day-to-day life of this character. That was something I don't think we saw enough of in Space 1999. It was always kind of, here's an external threat, we're being invaded by aliens, everybody's been taken over by a monster. It wasn't about kind of, run out of water. How do you make that dramatic, interesting story? I mean, there's the Paris Media guys doing the ongoing series of novels. They're doing like a virtual season 3, taking hinges from the first one, which is supposed to be coming out. Like, I don't know imminently, but unfortunately their publishing line is slowed right down, so I don't know whether they're going to see that. But I'll be interested to see what they do. I think I'll take one more and then we'll wrap up.
You can carry on a little bit longer if you want.
Of course.
Something a bit lighter. Of all the SF toys in the box, what would you like one?
Let me see. Cool, Transport would be cool for me because it gets where you want to go to. I'm kind of leaning towards holodeck. But then, it's probably actually a bad idea because I've never been. Wait, what? Yeah, it's a bad idea. It's Stargate, you don't know when you come out. Shit popping out.
You could have pitch in there.
Yeah.
Go out the back door and go totally
Just pop in. Yeah, I don't know, I guess I probably want a cool starship. In fact, actually, you see, if I had like a Starfleet starship, I could get a holodeck with it. So, you know what I mean? And of course, Star Trek ships, then you narrow it down to which one. I mean, you've got the old classic Enterprise, beautiful classic design, smooth, clean lines, but no holodeck. Never really like the Enterprise D, or like the stealth bomber. Yeah.
The new Enterprise series.
Maybe if I had to do a Star Trek starship, a motion picture Enterprise is what I'm saying. That lovely pearlescent sheen. That's sexy. That's a tough call.
Always lean towards the Judge Red sleeving answer.
That's not bad, actually. Yeah, the total relaxation inducer. Yeah, get like a nice sleep in like 10 minutes. That'd be brilliant. Yeah, that'd be great. The ability not to sleep when you're mental after a while. Anybody else?
Purely for self-indulgent purposes, you can write a crossover story to completely different series. What would you like to have a go at?
Brian Fuller and I used to talk about Star Wars, Star Trek Voyager crossover, which mostly involved Darth Vader filling everybody on the ship. People still being Captain Janeway. Yeah, Brian was a bit Star the strengths of fan fiction writing was to go, okay, I'm going to do an episode of Highlander set on Deep Space Nine. Duncan McLeod turns up on Deep Space Nine. The boys from Supernatural bump into Mulder and Scully or something like that. I do occasionally put sort of very geeky crossover nods in my book sometimes. I try to stealth those images into really quick notes. There's one in the story I did for that Doctor Who episode of Snapshot. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy reference. And I've just done Stargate SG-1 novel with Relativity. And when I was writing it, a town called Eureka, I just started. And I was saying to Mandy, the lead character name is Jack Carter. I was like, oh, Carter! Like Carter in Stargate. And I was looking at thinking, Eureka's got the kind of feel that it could maybe be taking place just down the road from the SGC. Maybe like, yeah, you can imagine that. They get some cool technology and they take it to Eureka and go, what can you guys make it do? You can't say where we got it from. And so I thought, what if Carter and Carter are related? So nobody else has picked up on this yet. There's a line of dialogue in the book where the characters are looking for somebody. And Sam said, I contacted my cousin in the Federal Marshal's Office to see if he could help me out. She's talking about Jack Carter on TV. So occasionally I do sort of geek references like that. Yeah, I think pretty much if you look at anything I've done, you're going to find, hang on a minute, he's talking about that. I love doing that because anybody who's a hardcore fan will go, oh look, you made a reference to this. And of course most people who don't see it because they just stay on the line.
Can you put that in your last Stargate book?
Yeah, there's the Stargate Atlantis novel.
Yeah.
Those are quite bare-faced actually.
Yeah.
There's a couple of Battlestar Galactica jokes, but that's because Battlestar Galactica exists as a TV series in the Stargate universe. Or at least it does now. It's interesting. There you go. We know that Star Trek, they're always comparing Shepard to Ghost. The Prometheus, David, the Battle Crew. The bit where Dr. McKay refers to it as the Battlestar Galactica. And Cornwell really goes like, thank you. Yeah, so it's plenty of those. Right, I'll take one more and then I'll shut it down.
If an alien suddenly landed outside here and walked into this room, how do you think they would view our interpretations of what we expected in it?
I think whatever we expect is wrong. Alien is alien. How do you know what to expect of aliens like us? Do they think the same way we do? I wonder, if there are species out there watching what we watch on television going, you're so wrong. Or it might be the other, thinking of a species that look like the Wraith, who are really quite nice. And they go, well, we weren't going to turn up, but see now who's the revival of the they're going to think we're going to suck their brains out. it would be difficult, wouldn't it, if you're an alien species and you're watching our TV. And they go, well, these people, this planet, have got a lot of baggage about us. How would you have to approach very carefully? Hello, we're looking out space. Not going to blow up your national monuments or anything. Don't have any huge flying saucers.
What's wrong with using the Galaxy Quest though?
Yeah.
So they're going to say the planet looking actors who are asking for a favour.
That's great.
That's one.
Okay, well, I'll be back tomorrow. Run out of stuff to talk about. I might do a reading or something like that. And just like my stuff, I've left a bunch more books out the front, so if you guys want to buy it, please do. Feel free to grab me over the weekend.